It's no secret that New York Knicks fans were disappointed with how their season came to an end. Falling to Trae Young in the Atlanta Hawks was a heartbreaking way to go out after having such a great season and securing home court advantage in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks had a multitude of things go wrong, including the disappointing playoff performance of Julius Randle when they needed him most, but I'm not going to dwell on that too much in this video. In this video, instead, I'm going to take a look at what the Knicks have done right so far in the offseason and why I think they're a much improved team going forward into next season. Now, since I just mentioned him, let's talk about Julius Randle. I know he was under a lot of fire and he deservedly received a lot of the blame for the implosion of the Knicks in the first round of last year's playoffs, but I still don't think that he's a bad player. You have to take into account that this was his first playoff appearance of his entire career. It doesn't excuse the fact that he shot under 30% from the field in the playoffs, but I'm willing to cut him a little bit of slack considering he had never even been to the playoffs before. I'm hoping that when the Knicks make the playoffs next year, he'll be more adjusted to it and able to perform at a higher level. The Knicks signed him to an extension that elevated his contract to a 5-year, $140 million contract, and now I know a lot of people have voiced concern over how big this contract is, and it's warranted. He's going to be making, on average, $29 million a year, which definitely sounds like a lot because it is. I'm still not sure how I personally feel about the contract, but the one thing I do know is that Julius Randle had a fantastic regular season, and the hope has to be that this was just the jitters from his first playoff appearance, and he's only going to get better. He averaged 24.1 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 6 assists on 56.7 true shot percentage, so it's not like he's not capable of being an all-NBA level player. It's just a matter of him remaining consistent during the postseason. One of the biggest moves they made so far this offseason was the acquisition of Kemba Walker on the buyout market. They signed him to a ridiculously cheap 2-year, $16 million contract. They're paying $8 million a year for a former all-star point guard who averages 20 points per game. It's not even like Kemba had a horrible season last year. He still notched 19.3 points and 4.9 assists per game, and he shot well from 3. He fills the void that the Knicks desperately needed to have filled, and that was having a legitimate point guard on the team. Elfrid Payton was quite honestly terrible, and Immanuel Quickley probably isn't quite ready to move into a starting point guard role. So to have a 20-point-per-game point guard on an $8 million a year contract is nothing shy of an absolute steal. This allows them to continue developing Immanuel Quickley without having to worry too much about the salary implications. While Kemba isn't exactly the greatest playmaking point guard in the world, he's not bad by any means. He ranks in the top 6% of the league in box creation, which is an estimate of open shots created for your teammates per 100 possessions, with 7.9, and he generates 13.8 assist points per 75 possessions. He will be more than serviceable, and he's going to be a huge upgrade from Elfrid Payton. They also signed Evan Fournier, who I'm not going to dwell on too much because with Fournier, what you see is what you get. He adds some offensive firepower to this Knicks roster, and borderline 20-point-per-game shooters will always be in demand in the NBA. He's on a deal worth less than $20 million a year, which is a contract that is incredibly tradable, which is what I think is the most important aspect at play here if they wanted to go after a bigger fish on the market. So I like the signing for the Knicks because he can help now and also be a part of a trade package down the line if they need him to be. It's also looking like Mitchell Robinson will be back, and I'm very excited to see how he develops both offensively and defensively. He is stupidly efficient from the field, and his shot blocking ability is really exciting, and his potential as a defender is a lot higher than I think he really gets credit for. With him back in the lineup, he'll only further solidify the Knicks' defensive identity. They retain Nerlens Noel, Derrick Rose, and ALEC BURKS, which I think is great. Rose is a fantastic backup point guard, Nerlens Noel will be a great center, whether he's in a starting role or off the bench behind Robinson next year. And ALEC Burks has been an incredibly quality role player for years now. Burks lit it up for 27 points in Game 1 against the Hawks. He's just one of those guys that can come into a game for you and just get a bucket. I think he's great, and retaining these guys strengthens their depth a lot and provides some continuity to that locker room with a good mixture of veteran guys and young guys. Now on to what I've really been looking forward to talk about with the Knicks, and that's their young guys. They're really, really exciting. You've got RJ Barrett, who's looking like he's going to be a very promising scorer in this league for years to come, averaging a career-high 17.6 points, 5.8 rebounds, and shooting a whopping 40% from the field this season. He's improving every year in just about every aspect on offense, even improving from a 61% free throw shooter in his rookie year to 75% from the free throw line in his second year. Barrett is 20 years old and already one of the most reliable three-point shooters in the league. There's no reason that he can't progress to, at the very least, a 20-point per game and 6 to 7 rebounds per game type of player. He has all the tools in the world to become an all-star level player, and I think we'll only continue to see him develop as his career progresses. I mentioned him earlier, but I also like Immanuel Quickley. I don't know if he necessarily fits the mold of a true point guard or more of a shot-creating shooting guard, but his game is really fun to watch. He is super fast, he has really impressive shot creation ability for his level of experience, and while he wasn't great from the field this season, he showed solid three-point shooting ability, shooting at a 39% clip and 4.7 attempts per game this year. His playmaking was on display in the Summer League, ranking second among all players in assists per game with 7.8, and 12th in scoring with 20.2 points per game. Granted, he shot terribly in the Summer League. I'm more interested to see his progression as a playmaker this coming season. I think the big thing for him is going to be working on his decision-making ability and shot selection. They also still have one of the most intriguing prospects of last year's draft, and that's Obi Toppin. His rookie year was really underwhelming, as he really didn't play that much of a big role at all in the regular season or the playoffs for that matter. He got his first crack at the Summer League and he took full advantage, averaging top 5 in points at 21 points per game, while shooting 45% from the field and 34% from 3, while also pulling down 8.3 rebounds per game. Now obviously this is just Summer League, but I'm really interested to see what Obi can do with some more minutes this season. Now that he's got some development under his belt, I can see the Knicks utilizing him as a stretch 4 alongside Robinson. I don't know exactly what Toppin's ceiling is, but I do know he has some incredible physical tools, and if he can add the skill alongside those tools, he's going to be a threat for many years to come. And last but certainly not least is their rookie Quentin Grimes. Grimes averaged 17.8 points per game in his last year at Houston, and he shot 40% from 3 during that season. He's a 21-year-old rookie, so I think he has the potential to help contribute sooner rather than later, although I doubt he really sees a ton of minutes this season, given how Tom Thibodeau is with rookies, and especially given the guard depth on this team. But to me, the Knicks clearly improved this offseason. I think they made significant improvements to the roster, and at least on paper, they should be even better than they were last year. I like the continuity that they're building on their roster with the veterans that they've kept on board and the young guys that they're bringing in. You never know how things will shake out, but you have to like how they're sitting heading into next year. So do you think the Knicks secure home court advantage in the playoffs again next year? Be sure to comment below and let me know. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.